MyCORE is on a mission to be the world's most people-centric company. The purpose of this podcast is to get to the core of people. I'm your host, Nathan Bourne, and I invite you to join me as we deep dive into the personal and professional lives of our guests. We're going to learn who they are, why they exist, and what they do. We're going to hear their stories, the good, the bad, and the ugly. In other words, we're going to talk to some really cool people. Welcome to the MyCORE Podcast. Hello. Welcome to the MyCORE Podcast. I am super excited for today's guest. I'm going to be having a wonderful conversation. I already know because she is wonderful with Misty Megia. I said it right, Misty. Megia. Silent. It's not a silent G. It's just it's like its own G. It's doing its thing.
It's its own thing.
It's its own thing. Hey, Misty is amazing. I first met you. Well, I don't even know that I'd say we met. I first saw you perform and rock a stage and dazzle an audience in Denver at the Gusto event that would have been 2022, I think. 2022.
Yeah.
I remember your pink blazer pantsuit. It was awesome. And Misty is a class act. She is a performing artist, a business woman, business person. And I think you've just found a way to converge all that is good in performing arts and all that is good in business and corporate even, and then build this really cool career and this really cool life. And I'm excited to talk to you about it today. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me. Anytime I can nerd out with you, I'm in.
Well, nerding out is great because I am like an amateur at best, but I did theater through high school, a little bit in college, through childhood, and I actually liked it way more than I was probably willing to admit at the time. Like, it was already unique that as an athlete and kind of a whatever guy that I was doing it, but I was like way into it. So yeah, I love this like form of art. I think that it's so important and it has served me well in business, and you've made an entire career out of this skill.
It's crazy. It's funny that you say like more than you showed as an athlete, because I remember I took a step out of like the Silicon Valley hustle and I went back and just thought, I'm going to teach theater at high school level, which was really fun and
right.
A lot of ahas. But my very first morning class, they had canceled the gym class for the football players and shoved them all into my theater class. And watching them transform in the space to like, I'm too cool to this, to I need a hook to get them off stage was like, yay, that's a win. I'm in.
That's amazing. Well, I have a story I want to share at some point relative to this, but I don't want to, dominate too early on in the conversation.
We'll wait for the domination. Got it.
I don't want to upstage you, Misty, is what I'm trying to say here. Okay. And I will be baking in all glossary, all nomenclature, all of the theater-ese that I still know. So that's the one.
We'll have to publish the glossary of the conversation.
That would be fun. Like, just every word upstage, off book, like ting, ting, and see how many I can get. So I'm at upstage right now.
Your listeners can make it a drinking game.
Right, exactly. That's a great idea. Did you start in this line of work, in this passion, in this hobby early on? Were you like a child star type character? Were you Honey Boo Boo, or is this something you found later in life?
Oh my God, I can't. I was not Honey Boo Boo.
Okay. So you weren't like right? Your parents didn't try to pimp you out or anything?
Not at all. Far from it. No, we didn't have the money to be Honey Boo Boo. Right. And she wasn't exactly rich, but yeah. It takes some dollars for those costumes. No, I begged my parents when we finally got into a house, because we had you and I have talked about this. Oh, yeah. We lived out of a milk truck for many years. in my childhood. And so when we finally started having a space to live in, I started asking for dance classes. I was like, I want to go into dance. I want to go into dance. I was painfully shy, like incredibly shy, that
Nice.
all of the pictures that we had were me hiding behind my parents. But I just knew I wanted to dance.
Yeah.
And so my dad said I grew up like just anytime music was around, just bouncing.
That's cool.
And so I was very lucky that my grandparents, because we couldn't afford it, they paid for my dance classes and I was hooked. It was finally a way to communicate that I didn't have to use words, but I could tell a story and get lost in the music. And it just the stage felt like a safe space to me. It was kind of unplugged from everything else.
That's great. So. Yeah, I was reading over some of the notes just preparing for today, and I loved what you shared around being heard and being seen, and how that's something that you bring to life and to value in your client base and the circles that you're in. And it sounds like you're a product of that product, that you at one point didn't feel heard and didn't feel seen, and then found a platform, found a conduit for that. Is that kind of when that started, with that shyness and then stepping into a space where you could kind of be Misty?
Yeah, I feel we all kind of are products of almost those scars, those early scars. Yeah. And then if, right, we at some point make that scar a mission to ensure that other people don't have to suffer from that scar. And so absolutely, I did a speech once where I started in the audience and I said, when I was little, I was invisible. Mm. And I truly felt that way. When you are homeless, you don't hear your name a lot. People don't address you in any form. They actually ignore you, don't look at you, avoid eye contact. And so it really is a beginning of, ooh, this is different. And so when I finally started just being on stage, it wasn't for the accolades of being on stage. It wasn't for any applause. I mean, I remember one performance, I was just like doing my own thing and my teacher was like yelling at me because I was like, I have a pretty umbrella.
That's amazing.
Choreograph my own routine. Forget yours.
Right. I'm doing my own thing, going rogue mid-show.
And I just remember, Misty!
Oh, that's awesome.
But I think for me, as it took me years to understand why I was so passionate in boardrooms for people to be seen and heard in there, and watching their body language and seeing that they wanted to say something and going, hey, Nathan, what is it that you want to bring to the table? After examining it now for the last 5 years, because I'm really diving back into that love, it's like, oh, well, that all makes sense.
Right.
Okay, there we go.
Yeah, it's something I am really, aware of or committed to is just the power of word, like not words, but like expression, emotion, emoting. And sometimes I feel like people restrict that, particularly, not sometimes, they often restrict it, particularly in business, because they're like, I have to be a business person now. And it's like the irony in that, Misty, is they're actually playing a character that they're not typecasted for, right? Like we're up to like 4 or 5 shots right now, so or sips, depending on what you're drinking. But right, so then they are like, oh well, I'll just act as if I'm a business person, which a business person would be quiet, right? Or they'd have a fully baked thought or plan or strategy, or it would fit in this box. When like that's not what people are. That's not who people are. Like we're a hot mess, So to be able to like bring that into our work, I think is where sustainability comes from. It's where like the the magic comes from, right? It's where people are like, what are you doing? And you're like, it's in and around payroll. And they're like, what? Like, how is that? So the fact that you've taken this incredible skill, and I want to get more into your story because I know there's a lot there, and brought it into the wonderful world of work and business. That's rare too, right? Because you didn't just do that. You had this passion, and I don't know if you'd call it a side hustle or like side gifting that you were doing in like real deal Broadway settings, right? I mean, you had these worlds, they were separate at one point is kind of my point, right? So like, I'm kind of curious how you went from separating them to integrating them.
Yeah, no, it was completely, totally different lives, like paid performer, evenings, weekends in the Silicon Valley, building startups that sold for multiple millions of dollars. So it really felt like I was two completely different humans.
Yeah.
But it was so fascinating. As you know, as you grow in your career, you start looking at things differently and you start seeing the common thread, and that you actually are living that Venn diagram, even though you think you're separating life. Because every single role I had in any organization, I was the spokesperson. I was the person on stage. I was
funny.
I was like, oh, I just didn't realize it was a better paying acting gig. I don't know.
Right. That's great.
And so as you go along, you go, all right, okay, I see how these skill sets are now transitioning into leadership skills.
Right.
That I didn't really realize were my theater base. And then about 5 years ago, I was a little more than 5 years ago, I was at Intuit and I was a global leader there. And I remember my leader, who I love dearly, but she asked me, like, Misty, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And it was the first time in my head that I went, ooh, I don't think it's here.
Yeah, not here. Yeah.
And I had been climbing that corporate ladder for so long that I didn't realize that was the answer. Externally, of course, I said something else.
Right. You're like, of course I will be.
You don't want to put in my slips right there.
Right. That's funny.
But I went back to my office and I just was thinking, ooh, what was that about? What's going on here? And I started talking to a career coach who is a dear friend of mine. And she gave me this exercise to write everything that I love down on a piece of paper. And I was like, oh, I love strategy. I love theater. I love this. And I gave it to her and I was like, look at all these things. There's no job out there that exists like this.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Right. Great. I'm unemployed.
Exactly.
Starving artist. Yep.
Right. And so Michaela, dear friend, she goes, that's because you need to go create it.
I love that. And
immediately I had a panic attack. I was like, what? But yeah,
aren't those the worst moments, by the way, where you can't unsee, unthink, unfeel, unhear it? You know, as a Christian, I like to think that those are like divine downloads that I'm getting like insights on, or like a calling. That happened for me with MyCORE, and I'm like, no, I don't want to do this. It's like, oh, it's going to be wonderful and it's going to be horrible. Like, I'm not doing that, because you sort of like, it's probably like looking at a playwright or a script. You're like, well, I know how it ends, but I still have to go through all these scenes, you know what I mean? And meet all these characters, and I have to develop into this character to get to this crescendo. And that is going to be miserable. But it sounds like you had one of those time lapse moments where it's almost like you saw it all and then it brought you back to reality, and you're like, oh shit.
Nathan, I wanted to ignore it. I knew it. I knew it though. I knew she was absolutely right. And I had the entrepreneur spirit where I go into every single company that I was in and treated it like it was my company.
Right.
And figured out how I can drive success. So I kept growing companies like 300%, 200% in 7 months. And so I was like good at that. And so I was like, that's my muscle. I got this.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh no, stop flexing that muscle and go build another one.
I know.
That was hard. But I knew it was the right thing to do. I really did. My husband said, you've helped all these other companies succeed. It's time for you to do this for yourself.
Yeah.
And to me, it wasn't just stepping back to make myself successful. I knew that if I built this company, it would have a ripple impact to help others be successful.
Yeah.
And I think there is no greater feeling in the world than to be a conduit for other people's success. It just is, it's a drug. It's a drug to watch people go from, I can't speak, to going onto a keynote stage and having a line of people sign, like asking for their autograph, talking to them. One of our clients had Bloomberg News come up to her after her first keynote, and she's now a columnist for them. So it's just
this is really important. I want to drill down on what you're speaking to right now. I think there could be some nuggets for people. Public speaking, performing, the combination thereof, it, as we have all heard, is the biggest fear, right? People fear it more than death. I can't imagine getting killed while public speaking. That would be pretty rough. It's like, damn, that sucked. Like by a spider or a shark. Because shark
I'm
eats
sure
you.
it's happened. I'm sure somebody has had like a heart attack on stage or something.
Right, like just some trifecta of phobias. But I think that what happens is when people see you in this moment, in this light, they will assume that you arrived at that point. Like somehow you were born into that person. And like even in our interaction, right? Like I don't know this. I didn't know this backstory. I know a little bit of it now from our conversations and obviously real time you sharing it. But if you told me in that moment, oh, this is what I've always done. Like I've never been in corporate positions. I've never grown companies. I've never been on that side of the table. I would have been like, obviously, look at you doing your thing. Like you are this person. And what I think people don't realize is that little girl is the same person. Like you're the same person and you're completely different all at the same time. I'll never forget freshman year of high school. I had to do one scene from a Shakespeare play. I think it was Romeo and Juliet. I can't even remember, but I just had to stand in front of the room. I was so good that I can't remember the play, let alone the lines. And something happened in me in that moment where I was like, that was miserable. I'm going to keep doing it. Like I want to get better at that. And then I ended up playing Demetrius in A Midsummer Night's Dream. And, just that wasn't like, there was like 2 years after that,
That's a great role. All right.
Yeah, it was fun. And I still remember some of those lines. I love thee not, therefore bid me not. I just remember the basic thing was like, she's going to annoy you and you just have to be like really mean to her. And I was like, cool. And I just sort of looked the part. By the way, disclaimer, especially if anyone's listening that we went to high school with, I know I wasn't very good. I was just the only person that looked like a leading man. All the other theater boys were just like artsy fartsy. And I just looked like Gaston. So they were like, he gets the role. It's totally typecast. And I wouldn't even get off book until like the rehearsal. But here's what's funny, Misty, and I want to hear your opinion on this. This is a honest hour. I was horrible in rehearsals, right? Like I was not good. I had a lot going on between sports and my life and school. But the pressure of the performance, I would show up and like every time my director included would be like, who was that person? Like that was amazing. And like I would kind of steal the show and I couldn't get myself to do that unless the pressure of the audience was there. It was very odd. So I don't know if that's a thing in the industry, but I was horrible in rehearsals and great on the show. Is that weird or is that common? I don't know.
As a director, that would panic the hell out of me because not knowing, I would be sitting up at night thinking, okay, how could I get them to where they need to be in this space? But to me, then I start bringing in, okay, well, granted, this is not teaching the high school level, but
Right.
if that happened in the professional level, I would be bringing in, okay, we have producers here this week, and start doing that forcing function to
Right.
give them a pressure test. I never take a cast on stage until they've done it in like front of people that are just raising the bar for them, because I want to see them stretch themselves as large as possible. But I also do a lot of one-on-one work with my cast members and really dive into like why they're saying things. And it doesn't matter if you have no lines
Yeah, right.
or if you're the lead, because I think every single person on that stage has the ability to tell the story and help shift the story and shape it in a great way. But yeah, no, Nathan, that would have panicked me as a director.
You would have hated me. Everyone hated me for it because they were like, dude. And then I'm like, I'm sorry, you know, like I got a lot going on. And then I would just hunker down and I would show up and it was just like, oh, you know what I mean? I would come out and step into the role and all these things. And, you know, I don't know if this is an official term, but I think I remember it being called just choices, you know, the choices you would make throughout the show and the development of the character. And I love the parallels in business, particularly from an entrepreneur's point of view, because you're so much in the creative process. You're building an original, you know, it's not just kind of a corporate department that you're heading per se, but like you have all kinds of choices that you can make and that you have to make, but they have to be on brand. They have to be on character. Like that person would not smoke the cigarette that way. So don't do it that way. You know what I mean? And they were just raw. I don't even know if nowadays in high school they do this, but it was so fun to kind of build that in and then like almost capture that a little bit, even though I didn't go on professionally, and then now do that in with MyCORE, you know, to say like, hey, look how we could bake this into the story. And what if this character, which is like a role within it all, and just, I think if people would look at their businesses and their job descriptions and their branding through this really cool arc, I think they would find a lot more success and a lot more joy in their work. I'm guessing you'd agree.
Yes, so much so I wrote a book on it.
I was going to say, you didn't happen to write a book on it, did you? Could you tell us the title of that book? Swipe up, link in bio?
Yeah, it's not out yet, but it's done editing and the publishers with it, but it's called Leadership is a Performance Art. Because I believe that there are so many lessons from theater that we can take into the corporate world of just how flexible you are, how to build an environment where everybody succeeds and everybody brings their best and they don't wait for that pressure test. Or if you know that they wait for that pressure test, how can you like create that pressure test? Because clearly they're a leader if they're already going, hey, I need more pressure than what you're giving me. But really understanding your team and then helping drive success and pleasing an audience. All of us have an audience of some sort, how to really understand that. Also, feedback is a big loop in theater of like all of the press. And sometimes it's good press, sometimes it's bad press, sometimes it's not worth your time.
Yeah.
Like I had one woman, I did a Christmas Carol and I said it, the flashback of him in the 20s, because I wanted this roaring 20s party. So the current time was World War II-ish. So it was just like really dilapidated space. Yeah. And the person that came, and it was a brand new, like updated version of the script. So it wasn't an old script. And she wrote in the thing that she wanted me to change the dialogue, which if you know theater, that's not allowed.
No, that's not a thing. Yeah.
You can't rewrite the playwright's words. Like you pay money.
It's literally illegal. Yeah. Like, yeah.
And so I'm like, how did this person get to review plays when she doesn't even have the basics of like rights?
Right. It's called playwrights. Yeah.
So I had to, you let go of those kind of things and just like, all right, but it sticks with you because it was just so funny. I was like, okay, interesting. I'm not going to read the rest of your review, but
there's something there though. I think for our listeners that are we're always becoming, I think we're often more unbecoming. You know, we're like getting back to the core, right? We're getting back to who we were meant to be.
The core.
In the exactly, right? In the first place. Yeah. My core, your core, our core. But there's something there I heard years ago, and I didn't understand it until I went through it. But you're going to have to be misunderstood for extended periods of time to build something significant. And that season is brutal because in your heart, in your core, like, I'm on to something. Like, I'm on to a market. I'm on to a market fit. I'm on to an audience. Like, there's a need, there's a void, there's a community that I need to build around this.
Yeah.
And for a while, it will seem like, what are you doing here? Like, you don't belong, or you're an outside, or you're fringe to this. And I think there's a faith component. There's like a lot of self-talk that you have to not feel like you're a crazy person. You also need confidants. You also got to be really, really careful about who you share these dreams with. The Bible says, don't throw your pearls to the swine. And I think that's a brutal verse, right? And as a classy, well-dressed, beautiful woman, you could probably appreciate your pearls, right? Are like, I can't share these dreams and these goals with everyone. And sometimes it's often, in fact, the closest people around us. It's a family member. You're like, I'm never telling them again about an idea I have because they just shit all over it. And that didn't make me feel very good. Yeah. So you're developing these characters like as the real you, not something you're playing, but that you're walking out in life. And I just thought, with you doing something unique, truly unique in the world and in the business community, I bet you've had moments like that where you've thought, they don't understand yet what I'm doing. I got to keep like acting this out and walking this out. Or were you received well immediately and it's been rainbows and butterflies and the easiest thing you've ever done in your whole life, starting your own business and leaving the cush corporate American security?
Well, I will say that I've been very lucky because I had so many very public facing roles and I was on stage so much and I was presenting nonstop within the corporate walls and outside of it. So to me, when I was leaving, people were like, oh my gosh, when you're ready, I'm signing up.
Yeah.
And my first client was Intuit.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it was just like, oh, a lot of people go, oh, we should work together after you leave. And you're like, oh, that's sweet. And you're like, that's not going to happen.
Never going to happen. Right. That's just what they say.
But that being said as well, I lost $85,000 in the first month of business, which was gut wrenching. And that's because I left March 2020 and I was already signed up all of these keynote speakers to help them develop their keynote for the conferences they were booked at. And all of the conferences just shut down.
I wonder why. Yeah. It's so weird.
And so it was a life lesson to me because I spent a lot of time putting together the business plan and every little aspect of every little piece of things at night and on the weekend until I was like, okay, I'm ready to leave. And then there was other plans. It was like, wipe it all
and there
out.
Was so much. It's even hard just 5 years. I mean, exactly 5 years now.
Yeah.
Out from that, there was some serious fear mongering to where you probably could have went, oh, we'll never do this again. Like, this is the end. I mean, I don't know that you thought that way. I was like, eventually. I mean, I remember we were going to flatten the curve for a couple weeks, and then like we flattened our planet for like 2 years. So I only say that to say that like you had to really probably have been freaking out a bit going, oh my gosh, like my entire thesis is based on these events and the world has just changed. I mean, what were you thinking in that moment? Were you just like, all right, I'll wait it out? Or were you having thoughts of like, I'm an idiot? What did I just do? Not you. You wouldn't think that, but.
Well, to be fair, I was in Hawaii. And
nice. Like, I'm smart.
We're sitting there watching the news and watching like toilet paper being stolen off the shelves. And then we were like, I guess we should go snorkel now.
Yeah, right.
I tried not to think about it, honestly, because I wasn't sure what I was going to do. But when I got back, I realized that running a global education strategy team we did 300 events a year.
Wow.
And half of those were virtual events. And all of these companies had never done virtual events. And they were trying to pivot now that their big conference was shut down physically to a virtual environment. So that just means, oh, I get to train all of these speakers on how to do virtual events, because people weren't really using Zoom and all of these other platforms as much back then. And so the spike in Zoom and all of these different ways to show people how to do strategy and how to present and engage an audience in this type of environment became what I pivoted to. And so it grew pretty fast because of that, because I just had the knowledge based on how much I'd already done in that field. So I was very lucky though. And it was, though, I won't lie, like it was hustle, and I wasn't planning to hustle. My whole pullback from corporate was managing so many different countries. I never got to sleep. It felt like I was in nonstop hustle mode and meeting mode that I didn't have time to actually always do the work that I wanted to at the level I wanted to. And so my goal was to not do that.
Yeah.
And so it was kind of like, okay, I guess I'm hustling
right.
to get this back. And then after, I did that for a bit, then I was able to go back to go, okay, I intentionally only want to work 3 days a week. And I've kept very true to that, minus like if it's a Friday and I want to talk to somebody I adore, and then I hop on and
likewise.
Yeah.
I have some questions, Misty, because you've mentioned the word luck a few times. On St. Patrick's Day, I found it fitting. I did a little reel, little story, just kind of quoting the saying, the philosopher, that luck is when preparation meets opportunity.
Exactly.
And I think when you're a person that has done the work, you actually do have a lot of humility, because you're thankful for the opportunities, for the natural faculties, for the gifting. I mean, just for health alone, right? To wake up and be like, okay, I get to be Nathan Bourne today. Like, let's go. Let's do this.
Yeah.
I don't think people just arrive at that, though. I think there's life events that hardwire that, I don't know, zest for life or that attitude of gratitude. And I've found, because it kind of takes one to know one, that people that tend to have more challenging childhoods, upbringing, experiences, and I think often we put it in a chronological order, so we just assume it must have happened from ages 1 to 18, but there can be a life event later that changes who you are. And you alluded to homelessness. You and I talked about challenges that we had, and I know I have new listeners kind of always plugging in. So my quick sob story, which is really a defining part of who I am, is I'm the fourth of 9 children. My parents got married at 18 and 19, and they were essentially non-conformists. What's funny is even then in the 80s and 90s, they were kind of ahead of their time. Like, they were like, people thought they were crazy, like, I'm not trusting the food that's in the schools. And now it's like, yeah, we're not eating that food with 40, and they're like, and the programming. And so we were kind of like, home.
Saw it ahead of time.
They were ahead of they were like, I kind of know what you're talking about, So that just created a lot of challenges economically and a bunch of other things. But like, what was it in your background and your backstory that, your origin story that has made you this type of person? Because sure, like you've had these opportunities, but can't bullshit me, Misty. I know you found a way to be there in those moments, that you were the go-to person for taking it virtual or for taking it global. Like, that didn't just happen. That happened because somewhere along the way, you decided to be who this person is, this rock star. And this is a safe space for you to pound your chest. So it's okay for you to be like, yeah, because I'm dope.
I'm pretty amazing.
Yeah, because I'm like the best. So I'm just kind of curious, like, what happened, there? Because you don't just wake up as Misty. That's like work in progress.
Yeah. It is a work in progress.
Right. I meant that in a
Always.
positive way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, sorry. You're going to
Yeah,
get some more work in, Misty.
that's awful.
I I think because my parents, much like yours, I know you and I like almost went in a corner at a conference and just like
Cried.
trauma bonded.
Yeah. I was like,
And,
you're way too dope to not grow up with trauma. Like, who did you dirty?
right, and in gratitude, because it really, I think some people can go through trauma, and then when they are through that moment of it, or even in the midst of it, aren't seeing all of the light spots around them and the bright moments. And I was very lucky that I had parents that just loved on me unconditionally. Like, I have a letter that my dad wrote me when I was little, and it's still one of my most precious items, of just him talking about how much he loved me and that the stars sparkled because of me. And so having somebody that just believed in me nonstop, I think, was this heartbeat that I wanted to hold on to. And I shut out the rest of the components that were coming at me that weren't the most positive thing. And then it just, you realize how many people don't have that in life, don't have that anchor of love or belief, or that piece that can just be that through line and the thread you hang on when you need it the most.
Yeah.
And so I try to help people find that, not in me, but in themselves, of like, where is that nugget for you that just gets you up every day. And I saw I think it was a presentation one maybe Tony was doing.
Oh, I was going to bring that up.
And your team, yeah, he sent
Dude,
me
you're not a dude, but dude, Misty dude. I was like literally waiting for a moment to insert this. So very cool, because I thought I was, and I'm just assuming. So let me just assume real quick.
Go for it.
The
You're
guy that came up on your call to action to be challenged to share on stage and covered a little bit about his wife and a little bit about his life was not the same guy that just did a literal hour-long keynote with a deck. I mean, this was like two different people, and this was not that long ago. So did you see that? I mean, total growth from that. That was so cool.
I did. I actually saw a clip of it on LinkedIn, and then I told him to send it to me. I was like, I just want to celebrate you. Send me all the pieces. And so he did. And to me, I think that the more we can create those proof points for others to see that they are capable,
right,
and help them get that proof point. I mean, I really live for it. I live for the client call that said, I just did it, and here's all the amazing things that just happened. And it unlocks, and watching that unlock, it just is something we all should strive for. Like, what do we need to do to unlock? Because we know that anxiety happens, but anxiety is moving through you, and it can leave out the door that it came in.
Right.
Unless you shut that door and decide to make it a guest, give it a comfy couch to sit on, and
great way to put that.
Let it be a loud voice. And we just have to say, hey, thank you. I know you're cluing me into something right now, and the anxiety is coming up because of a reason. Is it a person that's causing anxiety? Is it the preparation of the moment that's causing anxiety? Am I not ready? Like, it can tell you some wisdom, but then let it leave so you can take action. Yeah. And if we continue to just go, okay, what's my proof point of success? Not what is that anxiety piece saying, but have I done a piece of this before? Yes, I have. I can do that. I can do that. And then you go into corporate life and you just go, hey, like, I might not have all the wisdom of this person, but I have tenacity.
Right.
I know how to show up.
Yeah.
I know how to work hard. I know how to play on a team. I know how to help others shine. And you bring all of the skills that you do have when you might not have the experience of the other people in the room.
Yeah.
But you have something. Every age has something to bring to that space. That you just anchor on that. You go, okay, yes, I have a lot to learn.
Yeah.
But I'm confident in my abilities to learn.
This
and
is
to move
great.
forward.
This is you just gave a beautiful monologue to a core value of ours, lead with who.
Mhm.
And I've been kind of obsessed with this philosophy, this concept. Like you,
Tell
I am publishing a book soon. Yeah,
high five.
it's in the works. Yep, it's the title of the book is Lead with Who, and it was really a brainchild that started in 2017. And you know what? I am going to access the safe space that is here to tell you how it came to be,
Yeah.
because it's it's like the roots of it is vulnerability and like trauma and all the kind of dark side of it. But then what happened is I got a lot of questions over my career where people were asking me how questions, like, how did you do this, or how do you do this, or how are you able to? And I just kept thinking, you have the right letters, but you have them in the wrong order. This isn't HOW, this is WHO. And I
Yeah.
kind of had this little conversation with myself, and
Love
we
it.
all try to have strong self-talk. And I was like, all right, Nathan, how are you going to share how you do this thing? like this Nathan born thing that you do. And what I think happens, and maybe you can relate to this, when you've developed the skills, either because you were kind of forced into it or you just committed to the process or some combination thereof, you can arrive at a certain place where people think what you have or who you are is enamoring. It's like, oh my gosh, Misty, like what I would give to be able to do that. And you're like, oh, I don't know. If you saw the price, I mean, I went to the counter of success and paid full retail. There were no discounts, no BOGOs. I mean, it was like brutal.
Yeah.
No coupons, like straight up. And then I started to realize that maybe I have this gifting around people, or speaking or presenting or leading or casting vision, but that's not everybody's gift. That people have all these other talents, all these other ways to show up in the world. And if everyone's a storyteller, then they'll realize that they're an ensemble. I'm probably going to botch this, but I think Shakespeare said that life is but a play and we're all players, something along that, or life is but a
The
stage.
world is a stage.
The
Yep.
world is a stage, right?
Yeah.
So like we all play a part. We're all part of this ensemble, right? And I just started thinking, like, I wake up every day inspired. I wake up every day energized. I'm able to drive to Miami, attend an event, get up the next morning. Did I feel good? No. Did I have like one more of the 2 drinks that I wasn't even planning on having? And were they strong? And was I dead tired? I almost fell off my chair. I actually did fall off my chair at one point at dinner and was like, and I wasn't like drunk or anything. I just was tired and had a little bit of alcohol. And then I woke up this morning and I went, shit. If I want to do this episode with Misty in my studio with that Florida sun shining on my face, I have to leave in 25 minutes, like right now. And I got in the shower, got all my stuff, hit the road, and drove 5 straight hours to be here. Why? No, who, right? It's you, it's me, it's the combination thereof. And it's creating these moments at the who level and being authentic in them so that you can sustain the energy to actually build something great, to make it from act 1 to act 2 to act 3, and the curtain close and you do your bow and people go, you lived an amazing life. Bravo.
I love this so much, Nathan, because that is probably, minus like setting the vision before you even audition the humans. But as a director, my biggest job, other than going, here's the vision of the show and what we're going to do, is to cast the right people. If you cast the right people and surround yourself with people that come in with curiosity, with hard work, with tenacity, that don't come into the room going, I know all the answers, but are in the space to go, let's find all of the answers together, I barely have to do any work. And everybody else that I see that is like new directors are coming in feeling like they have to force their vision and they have to like treat actors a certain way. It's like, no, I trust you. I auditioned you. I trust you to do your role at the level of excellence that you showed me that you can. Like, it's a collaboration at that point, and it's such an easier collaboration when you surround yourself with the right who's.
Right.
Like, this is somebody I want to work with. And that one wrong who in a cast or in a team,
Poison.
oh my gosh, I have fired people from shows and everybody was like, that can happen. I was like, yeah, I don't care how close we are to opening
if you're
night.
the leading star, like you gotta go because you're killing the vibe, bruh. Yeah, like you are killing
life is too short. Life is too short to be not surrounded by people that lift you up, that help you elevate your own game, and that you can just go, I am so proud to be in this moment with you. So I love the Who message. I can't wait to read the book.
Yeah, you're gonna love it. It's so you, Misty. It's so you. you're just gonna be it's so on brand. You're gonna love it.
You turned into a Valley girl for a second. Like
totally. In fact, I've been driving a lot. In the last week, we had our event in Colombia, which I know we chat a little on social media. You saw that. And I want to speak to that a little bit because the way you're framing this conversation around casting is the same way you build a team, right? And as you're saying it, I had this thought, which is, it's like, you got to be a casting director. You've got to be looking for the roles that will fill the team, fill the ensemble, fill the cast of characters. And most recently, MyCORE has had just like game-changing individual come to the organization. He's now our president, and we made this announcement in Colombia. And man, he's a beast. Well, we actually just launched a podcast together called The Chairman, which
I saw a clip of that online. Yeah,
did you see us dying laughing by chance? It was such a blooper where I went to kick off the thing and I just was like, nope. And then he lost it and Joe lost it. And that's become like the like invitation into the podcast. But like, that sounds like it's going to be a fun time hanging out with those guys.
Oh, yes.
It was great. So we just recorded the second episode and we kind of touched on it in the first one, but Ned was like, hey man, what you said about the law of repulsion, let's do an episode on that. And I was like, oh yeah, totally, man. I was like, that's kind of one of the things I like jam out or nerd out on. And he's like, let's talk about that. So what we end up unpacking is that everyone's obsessed with attracting, right? They want to attract the right people. They want to be magnets, and you could get into like the whole law of attraction component thing, which is great. Thoughts become things. And I believe in that. But really what I think it is it's the law of repulsion. It's like you have to be so clear in who you are. Like your character has to be so developed, both the like integrity side and like the choices, the thing that you do that people go, that's so him, that's so her, that you repel the wrong people and then the right people find this kind of narrow path to you, and then you let them into that inner circle, or you give them group talk because maybe they're on the same wavelength, but they're just not quite there yet as far as like your energy and your vibe. And I was sharing this at that panel on Monday, and I spoke on a panel in Miami earlier in the week, and then I kind of, back to the Valley Girl thing, I kind of said it and I got all intense about it. And I was like, and then I just wanted to like bring some levity to it. So I was like, I mean, like your vibe attracts your tribe. Like everybody started laughing, but it was just fun to like go into these settings in business and bring these life principles, these things I learned from theater. And leading with Who, I just am like hell-bent on like Johnny Appleseeding this message and like a pay it forward. I think it could become something like in culture where it's like, yeah, dude, lead with Who, like, come on. So anyway, I'll keep you more abreast to all that, but it's exciting. But your point about casting characters is like, we're real time at MyCORE going through this transformational moment And it's
Yeah.
because of a character. It's because of a player. It's because of one person that came in fully like embracing our culture and our cast and just stepping into it, knowing who they are and knowing who they are relative to it all. It's kind of cool to watch.
It is such a good thing. And also when you're finding that like that right lead, right? The thing is that in theater and in business, you try to find people that are foils to each other, which means they're kind of sharpening each other so each of them shine.
Yeah.
And when we look in business, we don't want to hire all these people that are yes men to us, that agree with everything we do, because it doesn't sharpen our own skills.
Yeah. Iron sharpens iron. Iron doesn't sharpen butter, or butter doesn't sharpen iron. Yeah.
Right. You don't cast a show with a ton of people that all want to be leads, because then you have like the ensemble trying to steal the show and pulling focus when that's not the story over here. The story is over here. So you have to have those supporting characters. You have to have everybody aligned on the vision, but each person plays a very unique role in creating the full picture. And without an ensemble, you don't have the people that create all of the sound and the bass. And when the music hits, it's like, so those leads can soar above that. So it's really like when we look at the who in the business, it's like, ooh, who are these right elements that go, I love being a heads down person and just executing strategy, to I love being the visionary that's just constantly coming up with ideas. Because if you had everybody constantly coming up with ideas without any exexecution,
Right.
you're not going to go
bunch of nothing. Yeah. A whole
it's
lot
like,
of
that's
nothing.
great. Oh, that's great too. Oh, that's great.
Yeah. We'll just kumbaya, MyCORE. Yeah. Bunch of nothing. Yeah, I'm totally tracking, because it's like you have to envision it and imagine it before it happens, right? I mean, think about all the visualization that you would do in your shows. Of course, you did the actual rehearsals and the actual practicing of the thing, but a lot of it is just like here, it's creating that state where literally our brains are firing off the same ways as though we're doing it. And I know in dance, you know this, I know this from my wrestling background, where like I would rerun the matches in my head in the best case scenarios, but I also knew like, oh, if I get in that spot, I have this to work with, or I have that to go to. And I think people don't take those same skills or mentalities and apply them enough to their careers. It's like that was when I was an athlete, or that's when I was in performing, or that, like, again, that's over there and this is over here. And it's like, these things belong together. They're the same because they're people and their stories and their moments. And I say this, I think you'd appreciate it. It's like everyone wants momentum, but they forget about the moment. You can't have momentum without a moment, right? It's kind of the core of the word. It's like you build momentum by having all these really cool moments that compile and compound into the climax of the story, if you will.
I agree. I actually did a presentation called Minutes to Moments.
Oh, cool.
Where it's just like all of those minutes of work and connecting lead to those bigger moments that you're working towards. And it's, if we're not intentional about creating those moments, yes, things can just happen on the fly. Those are beautiful, but really being intentional about who you're going to spend your time with and what you're going to achieve. I recently was a producer on a movie.
Oh, cool.
And we shot the movie in Armenia. So I was in Armenia for a month working on the movie.
Wow.
And the director and I were roommates for the month.
Nice.
And she and I were talking, and I told her, I was like, hey, I really feel that a lot of my clients would make a great documentary, because she's an award-winning documentarian.
Cool.
She's like, okay. She goes, I hate documentaries. And I was like, what? Wait, what?
Isn't that what you do?
But you've won awards for this.
Yeah, right.
And then
gotta pay the bills.
And she goes, and while we're at it, I hate rom-coms, which is what we're filming in Armenia right now. And we've been working on this rom-com for 2 years.
That's so
and so I was like, okay, WTF, tell me more. What
Right.
the hell is going on right now? And she said, Misty, I have written a movie, and it is a sci-fi that I absolutely love. but I know how much money that will take to get there and that I didn't have the skill set to do it. So I did my work back plan, and my work back plan was like, I have to do documentaries first because it's only a one-person show.
Right.
You can get name recognition if you do a really good job. You're the camera person, you're the editor, you're everything. So you're in the weeds. Then rom-coms, I learned they're the easiest thing to sell to streaming services. They are pretty formulaic in how they go.
Right.
So I'm going to do that. That's a 3-part series. So she's working her way all the way to what her bigger goal is. And I will tell you, she would probably kill me for saying this, so I won't publish that I told this story.
Right.
But the first day, she goes, Misty, film me. Film me saying my first action. And I'm like, okay. And so I'm filming her. And she goes, action. And the director of photography goes, stop. What are you doing? We're not ready.
That's awesome.
And the thing is, though, is that she was smart enough to surround herself with all of the people that knew how to do the different components. Like, I came on because I worked with actors, and she wanted somebody that just knows how to work with actors and get the right performance out of them. She brought in the director of photography, so much so that day one, we were joking about, she goes, remember how I didn't even know what I was doing day one? But surrounding yourself with the right who, instead of waiting until you have all of the skill sets to press go, is like, yes, not many of us are doing that. We're waiting until we have like everything in a row, which I did. I'm right. Totally guilty of. And then somebody else went like, well, let's wipe that out and see how you do improv your life.
You're going to love the book because I break down in it the actual science, like the method. It's not all just the art. It's both the art and the science, but it speaks to this sort of process. And I love what you just shared because that's been my experience. Like, I collect people. Like, I'm like a weird
all the time. I'm like, I just collect good humans.
Just collect good people, you know, and then I will be polite to everyone, but I don't like let the wrong people. And the thing that's important, and this is kind of back to that like law of repulsion, it's designed to be edgy, like you're repelling or you're repulsive or something. But what it really just means is like, let that person go find their people, right? Like, don't manipulate them into your world because you have a paycheck for them or because it aligns with what their degree or their resume says or what their background is. It's like, you've got to let people find their tribes, and birds of a feather may flock together out there in the jungle, so to speak, but we're not animals in that way, right? Like we are a higher life form, and core values of a feather flock together, like identity, these things that transcend race and age and background and socioeconomics that everybody can access. Like, everybody can become awesome. Like, you don't have to have privilege. You also don't have to have a whole lot of trauma. Like, I know some dope people that go, it was all pretty I was pretty good. Yeah, my parents are together. I lived in a cul-de-sac. I went to private school. I'm like, but you're still awesome. So tell me about that.
Not that adventure.
That thing. So it really is a choice at some point.
Yes,
that you go through those moments and turn those minutes to moments. I love how you said that. But yeah, leading with what is a dangerous game because you have to keep creating and co-creating. Like, you were talking about collaborating, and it's almost like, I think of it even deeper than that. It's like, we're not just collaborating, we're actually creating this thing together. And by the time it comes out, it should have all of our fingerprints on it so that the DNA, like if you did a DNA test, you would find everybody's DNA on the company, on the show, on the product.
Yes, for sure. For sure. I mean, everybody, I think I just wrote a post about this a couple days ago of just people not knowing how they can contribute or what their contribution is. Like, it surprises me. I work with so many Fortune 500s that I am working with their teams in public speaking, and they have no idea how they help the company. And when you are working without purpose and knowing that you're even moving the needle, you're not buying in to the bigger mission. And so it's really fascinating to me how much we have this gap of like all of our DNA on something. It's like, yeah, that's how we build together and create something that is incredible and has all these different perspectives, making it even better. I love your repulsion thing too, because I recall I was talking to somebody like maybe a year ago or so, and I go, I love the people I get to work with. They're just so amazing. And she goes, that's because that's what you put out there and that's who you're attracting, right? And I was like, oh.
You're like, oh.
She goes,
Which
I love that they're willing to be creative. I love that they're willing to go crazy, have some fun. So
and you got to test the waters. Like,
yeah.
I don't know that you would remember this, but there was a moment in Denver where it was like in between two rooms. I want to say it was like where the food was and the expo hall was.
Mm-hmm.
And then Jackie was there. Couldn't tell you who else, but I know Jackie was there and I know you were there. And I was just like happened to be there by the door. And I think that's like when I kind of introduced myself, or I said something like, I don't know, it was just like, hey, you rocked it up there. Or like, hey, that was awesome. Or so it's like, you got to put it out there a little bit to see if the person digs you or not. And if they're like, ooh, get away from me. You're like, well, get away from me, whatever. Like, I actually came over here to tell you to get away. So, but whatever it was, like, you were cool. And it was just like a quick little like, oh, and I know from speaking and traveling that like, there's a lot of people, and then to kind of cut through that noise, it's going to take a few interactions for somebody to be kind of on your radar. But that's the force field that you have to kind of create to be like, hey, if you don't cut through this, then I don't respect the hustle, or I do respect the hustle. And you're not doing the hustle to like, I'm the one on the stage. I got the mic. Like, I'm the one that's tight with gusto. So like, you do the damn work, because if we're going to connect, it's going to be because you came to me. So it's sort of like recognizing where you cross over from like outbound to inbound, where it's like, you got to do the outbound work. And then eventually it reciprocates back, and you can get to this place where you're actually just discerning who you let in versus trying to go out and get relationships. Does that make sense?
It 100% makes sense to me. I had a prospect call me while I had this company, and he was from a time tracking company. And obviously, me and my background at T-Sheets,
right?
I sold that for what, $350 million or something like that.
Right.
So he wanted my advice, and I went into T-Sheets. They were flatlining at the time. They had not had any growth. They had as much attrition rates as they did growth. And so they said, hey, Misty, can you just come in and fix this? I said, sure. And I did. And then they sold.
Right.
But they sold because of their accounting division that I was in charge of. So I was like, all right, I know what I'm doing. This gentleman calls me, says, hey, I would like to hire you. I said, let's have a conversation. He's telling me all of the issues, and I'm just sitting here nodding, being a listener. And he goes, Misty, I don't want you to just sit there and look pretty and nod. I want you to tell me what I should be doing.
He said this?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And I thought, okay,
so
you're not a client for me.
Be ugly? Sorry, I can't.
I'm like, you're not a client for me.
Yeah.
At the end of the conversation,
he was repulsive, right? Yeah.
He asked me for a quote at the end of the conversation, and I told him the most astronomical price that I could think of.
$1 million.
That's what it would take for me to work with him. And he told me that was out of budget. And I said, well, when you have the budget, let me know.
And what a classy way to say, you're a jerk. I don't want to work with you, and no, there's no number.
You'll hear this now and no, but right. It's really, sometimes even though you are putting out the energy and the vibe that you want, there will be some people that slip in, but you have to.
That's so smart.
You have to know that not to make the decision on finances. Because if you don't make space for the right person to come in because you are so worried about the dollar, then you are not going to have the space for the people that truly will light you up every single morning when you wake up and go, oh, I get to work with this human. Yes.
Oh, that's so good. I love the way you said that. It's like this thing is fluid, right? Like who we are is, I'm of the belief, world according to Nathan, that we get to choose about half of it. It's like, okay, half of this is who you are. Like biology, God created you, your parents made you this way, you were born in this part of the world, like all these things that are just like nature. And then you have nurture, and obviously there's no way to know for sure. But then the other half, you get a lot of choice, a lot of free will. And you have to be like on it, you have to be on it, because otherwise people will, like, I love how you said that, they'll like squeak in, and then you'll have a moment where you're not on your game, and you might go, oh, I think I'm going to just work with this person because I could really use the money right now. And you don't realize, like, you can't have one without the other. That person that you created, that character, that like who you are, that you show up and be every day, that person requires care. Like there's people around them that you need food, water, sleep, like you need actual infrastructure around you to step into that role every day and be this person that you've developed to be, the mother, the father, the spouse, the sibling, the friend, and then also the business person or the career role that you have. And I think if we're not like hyper aware, like vigilant about it, we'll get sideswiped by somebody and go, oh man, that totally jammed me up. So these aren't like one and done things. Leading with who is like a daily practice that you have to go, who am I? Who are they? Who are we? What are we doing together?
Yeah.
Who am I? Who are, it's just this constant like space I live in. And it has helped me discern, like with Alex and Miguel and Michael, if it wasn't for who they are, I'm not getting in a car and leaving my family and driving to Miami. I got 3 herniated discs. I'm old, dude. Like I'm not I'm not doing it. So then what happens, I think, is when you have this awareness, you make the decision and then you fully commit to it. You're like, I'm going to see that person. I'm going to be on that podcast. I'm going to that event. I'm going to have that cup of coffee and be like fully present with them because I know enough. And I think this is why content is so important too. Like my business has shifted dramatically in the last 6 months, and it's like skyrocketing because I committed to creating content every single day. I see that you're doing a lot of that as well. I know you have already, but that's a game changer too, because then people kind of know you before they even interact with you.
Yes. Yeah. It's true. When you like, that's part of the attracting your tribe, right? Putting it out there. I think a lot of people put I have to be perfect. I have to do all these things. And really those are just obstacles you're putting in front of yourself to give you an excuse not to do it, versus just showing up messy and showing who you are, or, just taking a little piece and going, I'm just going to post this. Somebody will like it. I don't care if it's one person, it's just going to happen. But you got to get out of your own way in order to really be consistent. And I think if we can do that, it is a daily practice. It's another muscle for most people to show up with consistency on a new platform for them to be very vocal about. But I think that if we can just kind of go, hey, I can't be the first person to tell myself no.
Yeah.
I can't. There's so many other people out there that will tell you, no, you cannot be the first person to do it.
Yeah.
You're just not going to get far.
You got to be your own first fan, right? I mean, I've been told before, Nathan, you laugh at all your own jokes. I'm like, well, I think I'm funny. And
hilarious.
Yeah. So like, I'm my first customer. like how can I expect you to laugh if I'm not laughing? And I'm inviting you into the laugh. So chill, right? But it's that same kind of customer zero, like eat your own dog food, be a product of the product, and like enjoy it so much that you have this sort of proper space where you're like, you know what? I'm going to do this either way. And I think people try to like over virtualize it or make it altruistic. Like they go like, if this just helps one person today, well, why don't you just be that one person? Like, be the person that it helped today, and then maybe it'll help a second person. It'll help a third person. But everyone's trying to make it seem like I just shared this because I wanted you to, and then because and if. It's like, dude, like, own it. Just own that you're showing up in the space, that you have a story to tell, that you're a work in progress. Because people want to be along that journey. They don't want the finished product. That's the irony. Even if you could arrive at that thing that you have in your mind, you will have no followers, no loyalists, because they're like, well, I only know you the way you just rocked that stage. I didn't see the arc of your story where you were struggling and then became good. I only saw the part that you were good, and ain't nobody got time for that.
Yeah. And it's true. If we don't show those parts that are like, oh, here's the messy, one of my executive director, Krista, as you know, she was the lead in the movie, which is why I decided, yes, I will be one of the producers.
I love that.
But the movie is coming out this winter, and we were prepping her for interviews for the media tours. And I was talking to her, and I truly believe that part of her story is to talk about how, because everybody's going to say, oh, this is your first movie. Oh, this is your first movie. Right. Like, it's your big break, when she has been writing music and playing on all sorts of size stages for like 15 years. So it's not an overnight sensation. She put in a lot of work, and it just happened to be that this role was looking for an Armenian young woman who could sing beautifully, and she is that.
That's
her.
So yeah.
We were working on that response so she could respond and say, yes, I'm really excited about this first opportunity, and all of this work that I've been doing has led me to this, just so people don't think I just need to hit it big. I just need this one thing. I just need this one thing. No, you got to do the consistent work and show up and be willing to be messy in that room and play and just.
That's a dangerous game.
That didn't work.
Right. That's a dangerous game on both sides too, because if you're expecting the quote unquote audience to cheer you on when you have your big break or your big moment, but the other part is that you've dramatized it so much that you do it and then you go, I thought it'd be a little more than that, a little better than that. And you hear that sad story sometimes, right? Where like everywhere you go, there you are. And it's like, if you're putting all of your stock in that big quantum leap and not loving the process building up to it, one, I don't know that you get there. I mean, you might be a gimmick, you might be a fly by night, you might be a one-hit wonder, but that's not how like world-class people build their skills. They build it in all those little moments. And then if you get that moment, you go, yeah, that's pretty cool. That's a pretty cool moment, but it's really everything that you enjoy, good, bad, ugly. Would you agree with that? I mean, I that's kind of my belief.
Yes. It's so funny. So I decided my very, very first, like, I'll put in quotes, job was painting Disney murals.
Wow.
And so I had this skill set of looking at cartoons only, by the way, for some odd reason, like looking at a cartoon and being able to paint it at any size. And so I went into a movie
theater. Like scale ability in your mind, like artistic.
Like without all the grids and what people typically do. I don't know why. But I walked into a movie theater one day, and the gentleman who was going to paint on the screen or on the humongous wall had a projector. And I jokingly said, I could do that freehand. Like, just being a snotty teenager.
Got this.
I was very confident in my skills, even though I'd only painted like a 32-foot poster at this time. Sure, I could paint a 30-foot wall. The next day I came in.
Poster.
Yeah, I had only done a poster size of anything. I had never done anything larger than that. This is like a huge theater wall, right?
Yeah.
I walk in the next day because I just wanted to see what the artwork was looking like. It turns out they couldn't project it because there was a pillar in the way. So he said, hey, you said you could do this freehand. Like, we would love to give you the job of painting this. And I was like,
Yeah, like,
sure.
Talking smack. Yeah.
So I did that. fast forward to last year. I have always, when I have drawn, every single realistic human that I've ever drawn is faceless. It's super creepy. It's not.
It's like those Willow dolls or whatever, right?
Oh
Like
my God. It's so scary, Nathan. And so I decide I'm going to learn how to draw faces. I'm just going to learn. I do a 30-day challenge to draw 100 faces in 30 days.
Wow.
Spoiler alert, it took me 6 months. Anyways.
This just in.
The first drawing is so scary. Horrible. It looks, if the person saw it, she would like be livid that this is like, you've seen those hashtag nailed it kind of things. That's what it was.
Right. It's like the Temu version. Yeah, or like reality versus Instagram.
So bad. It's so bad. But I was like, okay.
And you are an artist too, so it's like this isn't paint and sip. This is like you're a bona fide artist.
This is going to be on video, right?
Oh yeah.
If I show my first drawing,
please do. I want to see this mug.
Is so. I'm so embarrassed. But here's the first drawing, y'all.
That's actually pretty good.
No, it is.
That is pretty good. See, I thought you were gonna show like this banana or something. Like, look at his face.
No, if you saw. That's what it looks like to me. But if you saw that and said this is from somebody that paints Disney murals, you'd be like,
fair. Okay,
yeah. Hire her.
Right.
She's not that great. So then I start. The instructor says, day 2, don't look at other people's photos. And I was like, what? So of course the first thing I do is go and look at everybody else's.
Right. Like, yeah, sure.
I'm in here with professional portrait artists.
Yeah, right.
And this is my piece. I'm not posting it. I am not showing any of the people I'm in this group with what just came out of me, because all of their pictures are gorgeous. So that being said, I was like, I'm not going to look at their stuff anymore. And then I started drawing, and I started focusing on just the noses.
Yeah.
So I have a whole page of noses. I started focusing on the lips. I started focusing on the eyes. But I started building out all those components. And as soon as I started doing that, I was like, okay.
That's amazing.
I'm starting to see progress.
No, bring that back up. Bring that back up. I want to see that. Is that the finished product?
No. This is
gosh.
This is like 20 in.
Oh, this is a master class you're giving right now on process.
And so to me, every picture kept getting a little bit better, the expression, and you're only supposed to spend 15 minutes drawing. So you're like, okay. And so as soon as I got good at one angle, I would test myself and go, okay, can I do profiles? Can I do this? And I would continuously change like the person I was drawing, what was going on. But the thing that anchored me in my growth is keeping that very first picture so I can go back to that and see my own growth. A lot of times we cannot see how far we've come because we forget what that first piece was like. And we're so busy in that comparison mode that we automatically just shut down and go, we're not good enough.
Wow.
And so once I shut out everybody else's brilliant work, which was really fantastic, and I just started focusing on, I want to get better at this. Here's the small steps that I need to do to improve to get there. I started being proud of my own growth. Am I now going to go be a portrait artist? No.
I think you should, based on what you showed me, but yeah.
But I can now look at a face and draw it, and it looks like the face that's in front of me. And that to me is really exciting. I drew a couple people that I really love. I did paintings of them and sent them to them. They were just like, oh my God, I can't believe you did this. I would have never done that a couple of years ago. It just wouldn't have happened. But I think all of us, like if we can just get through that messy part and go, yeah, we're learning. We're learning. It's okay. It's okay that we're learning. Like test ourselves, stretch our skills.
And people just stop, right? They stop on like the third attempt and go, oh, well, I guess I'll stay a hobbyist. And it's like, go be a professional. like keep going and keep going. And I think people really think that these things happen overnight. I don't know. This is a thought, like maybe, I don't know, maybe the way that the world was set up before from a capturing the story standpoint was such that you had to publish the full book. You had to have the full featured film. You had to have the whole playwright. You had to have like the output, the final product before anybody wanted it before. But times have changed. You know, this has changed everything. So now you can capture the process and create like a flip book of your life in a way that puts all the scenes together and people see that progress. And I think if more people would get comfortable with that and be comfortable with being uncomfortable in that process, we would do a lot more amazing things as people. But someone sold us and programmed us to think like, yeah, nobody cares until you're great. And it's like, you know, I think like in American Idol, sometimes it feels binary where they'll be like, nope, not good, great, not good, great, left, right. But I like the auditions when they go, you're pretty good. You're just not there yet. And they kind of say like, it's not no, it's just not now. And I always wondered, does that person take that rejection and go do the work? Or do they go like, I'm never doing that again? You know, that was horrible. On national television, I got like almost given the golden ticket. So I think in life and in business and in leadership, it's like, hold on to that. I love how you said that first picture, because if you can go back and dwell on, don't spend too much time there because it might get depressing, but like, I couldn't even tie my shoes, you know, relative to this. And now I'm like running marathons. Like, look at me go. It's a beautiful part of the human condition. You know, what a cool experience we get to have to be in the process and on the journey. And you got to surround yourself with people that are hyping you up. Like, dude, that is the best picture of the most non-symmetrical face I've ever seen. It's not you, it's that person's face. They're ugly. You're not a bad.
That happened. I drew a picture and my husband looked at it and he was like, their eyes look weird. And then I showed him the picture of the human. He goes, oh no, you drew exactly what you saw.
You got great eyes. Oh, that's
it's not my picture. Everybody is unique and I happen to draw a unique human. But yeah, I'm with you on that. I think I took a class at Yale that was the science of happiness. And part of one of the lessons was that we spend a lot of time comparing up, but forget to compare back for those people that haven't come as far. And so if you're going to be in that comparison game, right, compare in both directions.
Smart.
And to me, that always sticks with me because it's true. We are, no matter where we're at in life, there's always somebody that is struggling to get where we are at right now and somebody who's achieved where we want to be. And so you can use that person ahead of you to inspire you towards action, but also know that you have somebody that's looking at you going, look at what Nathan has built. I want to do that. Goals. Hashtag goals.
Hashtag goals. Yeah. I'm going to share something with you, Misty. Well, I'd love to talk to you more about it offline. So we did our event last week, and it was the 4th event of its kind in 2 years. And it has evolved to where it started as like our offsite, because we're fully remote, we're dispersed. And it was like, let's just get together and just like be together. Yeah. And then each event we did, it was like more people that weren't like MyCOREans were there, you know, as like a partner or like just somebody that's like, I just dig you guys. One guy that attended this event, it's kind of what you were just saying there. Two, he said, I want to come. He and I met a couple years ago, and he's just sort of watched the company transform and watched the company grow and watched us sort of step into these new spaces. And what he said was, I just want to come see MyCORE. Like, I just want to like experience it. And I was like, dude, like, come on. So we go into the event. We have a great time. It was very much like the other ones, but always better because it was like progressive and the moment that you're in. And then we take the day to like plan, do review as an executive team. And I just had this like, I don't know, like kind of rumbling where I'm like, we need to change this. Like we need to be so invitational. We need to build an event for like the world to attend, for these people to attend, and it not be a MyCORE event. It can be presented by MyCORE. It can be facilitated by MyCORE. So we just start masterminding it. And it is so cool. So here's what we've landed on. This event is called the CORE Collective. And the idea is that we are attracting people from all walks, but particularly movers and shakers, people that are on a path that say like, I'm building my collective, I'm building my collective gifts, my collective, team, my collective partners, just this idea that like life's an aggregate. We're pack animals, right? Like none of us can go this thing alone. We should constantly be thinking about who we're collecting, right? Like when we talk about collecting people,
collecting humans.
It's a little creepy, it's a little creepy. Don't be like poking the dog.
The full human.
Yeah, you weirdos. And then we said, all right, well, we don't want it to be too like motivational or something. Like, how can we create these tracks? So the event is 3 tracks: leadership, people ops, and digital marketing, which starts to bleed into what we do. So we've just got this really cool agenda set up. And Kenya, our chief brand officer, like this morning at 3:02 a.m., so she was cooking late, dropped the website on us, and we're like, it's so good. Like, this is going to be awesome. So you and I will have to talk, because I would love for you to attend that event. I can't afford you, but I'd love for you to speak in some capacity or just come be there and just be part of it, because I think it's going to be awesome. And we are confident that we'll have 300 people there. So that's our goal with our network and just kind of the team. And it's going to be really cool. But I'm opening the event on the first day for 2 hours, where I will be unpacking the entire Lead with Who phenomenon. And then the book will be published and all that too. So it's going to set the stage. Somebody's drunk right now. That's like the 12th time I've used a theater term.
They've passed out. They're not.
Yeah, they're blacked out. Yeah, get them some water. And help people really deconstruct and like unravel as they go through these tracks to go, wait, yeah, maybe I need to like reorg the entire way that I've been approaching leadership or people operations or even digital marketing, which is a very like specific thing. There's a method to our madness. So yeah, we're pretty stoked about that. And it's just evolving and evolving and evolving.
Incredible. And absolutely, I'm into whatever you all are doing and building.
I figured if I asked you live, then you would.
Yeah. So now it's recorded. Yeah. And then if I don't show up, you just play this on repeat.
Misty's full of shit. Click.
It's I love every time we talk, though, you say how you can't afford me. So let's.
Yeah, right.
Very costly.
Right, exactly. You're a big deal. Maybe we can. We'll see. But
we'll work something out. We'll work something.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. But yeah, we're doing this VIP day too, which is exciting. And I was like, you know what? I don't really love the like very important person. So I was like, let's call it very influential person. Like we'll do the VIP day. And these are for people that are like, look, I'm not like an influencer, right? But I'm influential. I'm building my influence. Like I'm building my leadership. John C. Maxwell says that leadership is influence, nothing more, nothing less. And I always like that kind of definition. So yeah, I'm excited about it. The CORE Collective. I'll get you collateral on it.
I can't believe that you already have it and that you're moving that fast. Of like, we ideated this 2 weeks ago. We have a website. We're ready to go. And this is what I say, people: surround yourself with the right people.
Oh, it's amazing.
Ideas,
so humbling.
Actions, right?
Oh my gosh. That was less than a week ago. And it's like, it's live. We have the venue. We're already lining up speakers. The agenda's being built. And then here's where a Lead with Who comes in. We're starting to put these topics. I'm like, no. We lead with who and everything we do. Find the person. They will have the topic. Like we will craft the topic after we find the subject matter expert. But what we're doing too, and this is something that you would really, I think, dig, particularly on the people ops side. We're building people ops certifications. We believe that we are the most suited company and brand to own the people ops and people advisory space, because we are agnostic. We don't then say buy our platform, right? We're pure advisory, and we can say, oh, Gusto's great for that. Rippling's awesome for that. A PEO with JustWorks is wonderful. This is a one way to do it with this HR infrastructure. So it's almost more pure. And we're focusing on the accounting community and saying, hey, come through this track, get your people ops certification. And we're really like looking to build the most badass accounting community, which is what I've been talking to Alex about and all them. So we'll talk more about that offline, but I know that's like
I can't wait to hear. I have like all sorts of questions, but that could be another couple hours.
That'll be a whole nother episode. I'm so glad we got to hang out, Misty. Is there anything on your roadmap? Like what's ahead for you? What's something that you're working on right now? Painting beautiful faces. What's kind of like,
yeah. I am leaving my business to become an artist again.
Right. Find me at this bench. I will have a hat out. I'm joking.
That's the level I'm at right now, right?
I want to ask you a question, Misty. Because you are super talented, super capable. You've accomplished a lot. And you do it with poise. You do it with class. I love it. It's fun to watch. What is something right now that's just kicking your ass? That you're like up against the learning curve. You're like, man, I can't crack the code on this. Is there anything that you're challenged by today?
Ooh.
Hard question, right?
Other than this question.
Or you just feel like you're a little bit out of your depth on. You're like, man, I've been here before, but something about this version or this moment in time, I can't quite like unlock yet.
Oh, this is really good. I think because I have been at the ground floor of so many startups and also within large organizations, I know what it takes to get from point A to point B. But I think the thing that I'm struggling with is that I just want to hire the whole team now.
Yeah.
Like I go, okay, I need all of these humans in order to do this.
Because you've had resources in your past to do that.
I've had lots of, at startups I didn't. I had to run all of the divisions. But the speed that you can do it is exponential to how many people you have. And so I still not struggle with who to hire. It's the struggle with the mental switch that I continually need to have to go, it's okay, Misty, that you hire this next person because it'll unlock this. And when you have like $92 million budgets, I still thought that way, but it was a little bit easier of a hill to climb, where I would say as an entrepreneur in the 5th year, it's still like, okay, and go.
Yeah.
So getting through that, hold your breath, it's going to be okay, especially in the way the economy is going right now. Yeah. It's like, ooh, eesh, ash, we're watching the stock market go, and we have a bunch of money.
And there's a practical side. Yeah. I'll tell you, I have been blessed, maybe cursed, possibly cursed. Pretty sure it's cursing, not a blessing. With the ability or the burden to reach into people's like chest and be like, hey, there's more that you want. And I can see it. Like, I know it's more than the paycheck. It's more than the title. That there's some type of epic journey that you want to go on.
Yeah.
And I would just encourage you, for whatever it's worth, to build that narrative in your mind. Like, build the story before. And this is almost counterintuitive to leading with who, but ironically, it's like the essence of leading with who is you're creating the why and the what and the how, knowing that the who is going to step into it and they're going to find you. And this is what just happened with Ned. And it's happened with all of my team. It's unreal. And for me, as a person of faith, I just say, God, just send them to me. I'll be nice to them until you tell me not to, you know what I mean? But like, let me know as early as possible if I need to kick this person out of the nest, not from like a development standpoint, from like a get away from me standpoint.
Yeah.
But it is so hard because you do not have that. You always had the mentality, but you had the budget to go, oh, and by the way, you'll be starting at 110. And then you don't maybe assumably have that now, right? So you're going, I need somebody that's scrappy that will like build it with me and go get that deal, get that. And this isn't just for you. I'm not coaching you, Misty. I'm just saying it to like our listeners, because this is like, this is what bootstrapping is. I've built MyCORE without a dollar of VC, without a loan. I mean, a couple loans, but they were bailout loans, not capital loans. They were, we're going to go out of business if we don't go get 50 grand, you know? And so I had some loans, but they weren't they weren't capital, you know, deploying capital. They were survival. But with like Ned, same kind of thing, man. Like this guy went from making $250,000 a year to coming to MyCORE and going, we'll just build it, dude. Like, I'm good. And I'm like, what? You know what I mean? Like, and I'm like, I got other mouths to feed. One, I have 5 kids, you know, so like I can't lower my salary and these people got to eat. And he's like, you've built $1 billion company. I can see it, man. Like, let's go. So I would just encourage you, like, people want to borrow your belief more than your money. You got to be a belief bank, interest free, and be like, I got you. And if you're ironclad, they'll take that risk with you. And then you'll go create it. You land the show or the deal or the book signing, and then you share in it. So that's what I would encourage you in, for whatever it's worth. And for our listeners, just do it, man. Just do it anyway.
I love it. And I agree with you. And I think that, you know, the way to move through those kind of things is to speak them out loud, right? So you can see it yourself and go, oh, that's not serving me. Yeah. And so thank you for giving me a space to go, this is the holdup. And I truly believe, Nathan, that's where that little girl comes back in of scarcity.
Yeah.
Right. We have been profitable since day one. So I'm super happy with that. We continue to be profitable and paying everybody like good salaries that we hire. And but it still is like,
yep.
And so I have to like talk to that little inner human and go, hey,
yeah,
that's not the case. Like, look at what's going on. You're year 5 and still doing really well. But it is that mindset shift that is constantly, it's a muscle that I'm having to rebuild and go,
it is.
Let's have a come to Jesus moment.
Yeah, literally. Yeah. That's why our first core values: walk by faith, lead with who, measure what matters. And, you know, you can fill in faith however you want. For me, that is actually less Christian than it might sound. It's, you know, it comes from the Bible, but it's really like, well, wait, I have to build it and they will come. Like, for example, right now we have 27 tickets that are like sold for an event that we have put on the website, 300 plus entrepreneurs, and all the imagery, I'll send it to you, are large crowds. We normally use all of our own photography from our events and from our team. We don't use stock photos, but our events have been 30 or 40 people. So if you're casting a vision and saying like, it's going to be amazing, and it's like, there's not even a stage, there's a freaking TV. Talk about scrappy, Misty. This is funny. So we've done this in the Graduate Hotel, and you know how these venues are. They're like, oh, and the AV fees, $2,000. You're like, fuck you. I'm not paying you $2,000 to set up a projector. So here's what we did the first 3 events. This one we graduated, and we we're like, yeah, we got like our own projector. True ass story. I'm like, this is the poor kid in me, like, bad. I'm like, well, these like Target and Costco and Walmart, they have like the easiest return policies. I'm like, we are going and buying a TV. We're setting it up in that random town and we're returning that shit like immediately after. And we did that for 3 shows or 3 events. Dude, it's so funny. So when I return it, I'm there and we're returning. Everyone's kind of nervous because they didn't grow up like me. You know, they're like, are we going to get in trouble for doing this? And the woman's like, yeah, dude, check. She's like, well, what's wrong with it? And they're all like, we're gonna go to jail. And I'm like, I was like, oh, I hate that TV with all of my heart. I was like, it's the worst TV that ever TV'd. That, and we used it for our event and we don't want it anymore. So we're trying to get our money back. I just told her straight point. And she's like, okay, ding, returns the TV. So it's like that's the story. That's the epic journey that people are like, remember when we got the TV and then returned it? And now we have 300 people here. So you got to just own the moment.
See, like, that's what I'm saying about that first picture, right?
Yeah.
That first picture, keep it, because, eventually you guys are going to be doing like 10,000 people if you want, or 20,000 people you want. Yeah. And that first TV,
right? Returning it
is going to be the story.
Somebody probably bought that like already open TV. It's in their home and they don't even know that we used it at an event.
Right? Maybe one day it'll be like Scott's table at Intuit, where he has the dining room table at Intuit where he like thought about QuickBooks.
Right.
He'll need to go get that TV back and go, hey, this is the MyCORE TV.
The original TV.
The first event.
But yeah, so I would just encourage everyone listening, like, you are exactly where you're supposed to be. That's what faith is. Faith is believing that I'm right where I'm supposed to be. If I weren't, then I wouldn't be, and there's cause and effect, but this is like part of the preparation phase. This is the opportunity will meet this preparation and it will seem lucky. The headline that we've been calling is MyCORE, a 10-year overnight success. Because I actually started down this path in January of 2016. Before I founded the company in 2018, I had 2 years of like trying to put together a thesis and pivot from a career. It's been 9+ years now of getting after it. And these like next 9 months, the way things are just gearing up and even down to like, I think we've sent like 12 proposals out in the last like week, and we would normally bring on 3 to 5 to 7 clients a month. And it's just like, oh my God, everything's taking off. And it's literally a 10-year overnight success. So wherever you are in that journey right now, like own that shit, because you're going to look back and be like, oh, those were good times, even though they hurt so good. They're the best times you never want to have again. Right.
It's part of the hero's journey though. Like you can't have a big win without some loss.
Right. So that's cool. I'm thank you for answering that question. It's not like a super fun question to answer.
It's a good one now. Really good. I think it's good for us all to share too. Like, hey, like what is that? What is that sticky moment for you? It's okay. It's okay to have them.
Yeah.
I coming from running some of the most successful companies and in the most successful divisions and growing it, I still have growing pains myself. So
right. And it's a different game. It's a different time. It's a different setting, so you can glean from and pull from those wins, but you got to reinvent yourself all over again, right? It's quite an interesting path to be like, I know what I'm doing is right. I know it's noble. I know it's true to who. There's people, I'm proof positive on this. There's an absolute need, like glaring need in the marketplace. But people rush it. And even down to this moment, like I've attended those events and I've just stayed pretty chill. Like Michael Lee, I saw, and he goes, bro, you're not an accountant? And I was like, no, like I'm barely whatever I actually am. I'm definitely not that. And he's like, I didn't know that. And it's cool to watch these things come together. And it's like, yeah, if I had rushed that, or if I had forced that, or if I had tried to make it happen, it wouldn't have been. It's like this banana. I got at the gas station quickly. It just isn't ready, but I needed to eat and it didn't taste very good. But in 2 days, this thing's gonna be dope. So like give it time to ripen.
Yeah. It's a journey. It's a journey to savor the steps. And even in the complications of things, it's true. Once you get over that, like the breath.
And you could never, even if you tried, draw that bad of a face, bad is relative, again, you couldn't do it because you can't unsee it, right? You can't unhear it. Like, you know now, because you focused on that nose through spaced repetition over and over and over again. And you figured out the eye and now the ensemble and the ecosystem that are these drawings, you're like, yeah, I could do it blindfolded. Maybe not that, but like I could do this after 3 glasses of wine because I've done it so many times. I think people want to rush that part. And it's like, you got to get to where you're unconsciously competent. That's where the magic is. When people go, do you know what you just did? And you're like, no, I don't think so. And it's like, damn, you're that good. It's like, no, but I wasn't always.
Kind of, but
right? And that's really kind of what I asked you. I essentially said, hey, what are you consciously incompetent at? Like, what do you know that you don't know right now that you'll eventually become consciously competent, where you'll know that you know it? And then the ultimate goal is that you don't even know that you know it.
Yeah. And there's loopholes everywhere, I think. I am crushing it in a lot of places, and then some places it's like, I bet if.
Yeah, right.
I bet if, like, I am a really good human at closing contracts, no problem, done. I'm a really bad human at not finishing the contracts, but right. Oh, your contract is done. I'll keep working with you because I love you so much.
Right. Like the longevity of the financial relationship. Right. Yeah.
I'm just like, I just love you, so I'm going to continue this journey.
I collected another person.
I collected another human, and now you're just in my life forever, and I'll just be in service. But I think that, I think though, I feel that I'm building a company that I get to have that flexibility when I want to.
Yeah.
Like, my corporate side, I feel is singing, and so it gives me that flexibility for those entrepreneurs that just need that path towards being a megaphone for their brilliance. They know it, they feel the calling for it, they're dipping their toe in every once in a while, but it is in service. I only work with people that understand that the stage is in service to the audience's growth. Like, if you come to me and say, I want to be $1 million speaker, if that's an outcome, great. But if that's your only desired outcome, I know you're not the right fit for me. I want somebody that goes, I have a message that I know will help somebody else succeed. Yeah. And then I'm like, I'm in. Yeah. How can I help you? Let's do it. So.
Yeah. And the money, like, assuming you have any acumen at all, like you're not a complete financial dud, the money and the economics will sort themselves out. Like, you're dealing with reasonable people. They're not going to like use and abuse you, like, and if the shame on you for letting them, right? Like, I think that's where people just have it in the wrong order. It's like the transaction will occur, but place it in the denouement, right? Like, place it in the fact after they're like, oh, yeah, by the way, you're going to sign that, right? Send me the freaking money. But don't build it here because you're screwing my vibe, man. I'm not trying to talk about it right now. Like, it's not helping my energy.
Yes. Yeah.
So you got a storyboard, like, all of it, even the transactions and even the contracts. Because if you're not able to authentically step into that moment, you need to find a person that can. And like Ned, who I told you are now president.
Yeah.
I was like, hey man, you're like a badass, dude. I was like, good for you. He's 32. And I was like, I kind of feel like we're getting like a good cop, bad cop thing. He's like, oh yeah, I have no problem being bad cop. I was like, cool, because I really like to be liked. So if it's okay, I'm going to keep the likability thing going. And he's like, oh, you, man, no problem. He's like, let's get rich. Like, cool. So finding people that not only can do the thing, but that like are truly in their zone of genius and acting out their character that they've developed, because we all have a character of sorts that we play. Hopefully it's authentic.
We have
Right.
multiple,
Yeah, I got
right?
a lot of them.
Not to say we have split personalities, but
Right.
we have ways that are authentic to ourselves, but we know we have ways that we show up with the family that are different than ways that we show up with friends, that is different than the way we show up in business. Now, there shouldn't be so disjointed that there's not a through line, but we know we're shapeshifters in a great way. And I think that's why when we come to a space, we can go, this is a space where I could be myself. I feel that this can be me. This can be me. And I think the fact that you have these people that foil you really well and that can go, I can be the bad cop. I can be the person that, hey, like, you got to snap out of this. Let's go.
Yeah.
Like, there's a time for it. And, when I have to be that, it's like, all right, I am that person of like, yeah, Nathan, let's try that again. That didn't work.
Yeah. That fell flat. You suck.
I didn't believe a word you just said. Let's go.
That's awesome.
Not the right way to land that story. Give me another option.
All right. Keep going. Do less. No, do more. No, do less. Misty, is there any way I can help you? Is there anything that is in my world or that just, even if it's just thinking about it, you're praying about you, anything that I can do to help you?
I don't know if I'm sure there is. I mean, if you know of anybody that is just like feeling that pull and you can see it, and I know you're a very intuitive person, but they are not taking that step, please send them my way. Like, this is truly what I live for, because you could see it in the room. It's those people that go, that breath that they want to speak and then they just stop. If we can unlock those humans together, just imagine the wisdom and the different perspectives that will be at that table to help whatever organization they're at rise. It makes me happy. More than one person should be a megaphone for the message of the mission.
Oh, I love it. And I didn't want to keep lead with who-izing our conversation, but there's something in the book called the golden megaphone that you're going to love. Yeah, I saw it in the notes from the type form, and you've said it, and it's like you totally get this like megaphone, and it's not being obnoxious. It's not speaking out of turn. It's like just knowing when the kairos, the timing to share who and why and what, and let it ripple. I have an introduction for you too. I'm going to introduce you to a gentleman that came out to our event, and he really came out for the sole purpose of kind of seeing me speak. And he recognized that I was really playing multiple roles, that there was kind of some keynote in there, but also I'm like, got to lead the team and I got to be on and all this. So I took a risk and was like, just come, man, just come see us do our thing. And we're starting to collaborate on all the places that my speaking career can go, where the company can go. And I don't know. I feel like that just doesn't add up if Misty's not somehow part of that. So I think we should be talking and just sort of lay out everything on the table and be like, hey, there's a path here in conjunction with all the other things. And if we do this right, we're going to need pros like you guys. So I'd love to introduce you to Paul. Kreider's his name, and I'll connect you guys, and then we'll see if we can all work together somehow.
It will happen. We'll put it out in the universe. It'll happen. You and I have been scratching a collab, and
I know.
We're like, all right, there's something there. As we collect humans, we knew.
And I've got a lot more bandwidth these days, thanks to Ned, because he's like, just go out there, man, and do that thing you do. And I'm like, cool, awesome. So it's like capacity wise, I'll put my mind on it a little bit more, and we'll chat as far as like tactical, practical. So I want to thank you for your time.
Next week is what you're saying.
What are you saying?
So I'll see the website next week is what you're saying.
The Core Collective?
No, I mean for our collab.
Oh yeah. It'll be done. Yeah. I see what you're saying.
That's what happens.
Yeah, exactly. I'll just drop it to the team. Yeah, Misty. We'll have a bunch of mist. Yeah. Oh, that's fun.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time today. Yeah.
Likewise.
I loved hanging out with you.
Likewise.